The Village of Cary for Tuesday, October 18th, 2016. To order with roll call, please.
McAlpine? Here. Cavelli? Here. Kraus?
Here.
Chapman?
Here.
Dudek?
Here.
Kozler?
Here.
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now move to the open forum where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. I don't think we have anybody. I recognize everybody here and I know why they're here, so that's a good thing, I guess. So we'll go ahead and close public forum. A couple things on my mayor's report. I wanted to add something quick. We had the Cary Grove Homecoming Parade. I wanted to send a shout out to Martin Chevy, Dan Hoyland stepped up and provided 2 vehicles. One for myself and one for some of the other patrons of the parade. So thank you for that. Police did an outstanding job orchestrating that. Saw some of the guys that are back there at the parade, as well as Public Works. And thank you, Cary Grove, for including us in the activities. And now, so we have a couple of employee recognitions. We have Tim Kelly, who's been with the police department for 25 years. So we're going to recognize Tim. Chief's going to help me out, but I have a quick story.
Uh-oh.
He won't remember, I'm sure. Because I think you were here, but I've been here for almost 25 years. And I lived in, when we first moved here, Fox Trails. All places.
Did I arrest you?
No, but you were in my bedroom.
Hello, YouTube.
We'd only lived there like a month. I came home from work one day, and the garage door was open, and so I thought it was strange since I lock everything up. So I came inside, and I just kind of looked around. Everything looked the same. So I went upstairs to get changed. So I opened up the master bedroom closet, and the attic portion of the, how they have the attic thing that's up there, that was completely off, and all of the insulation was in a pile on my floor in the closet. So my heart is racing. I'm thinking, there's somebody up there. So I called the police, and Tim Kelly shows up. And you're the one that convinced me that there was nobody up there, although we got a ladder. You probably don't remember this. I had a ladder in the garage. And you looked up there, and your flashlight looking up there, there's nobody in there. And then we decided that it was the vacuum of opening and closing the door, because the house was so new that when you open it up, it pushed it up.
Wow.
That's my story. And
And you stick to it, exactly. You better stick to
See, I
that.
remembered that.
My alcohol just kicked in, so my.
Well, for 25 years, I'm going to give it to you, okay? But on behalf of the Village of Cary, 25 years of service, that's outstanding. Thank you for keeping our community safe and sound. We appreciate it.
Just a couple things about Tim. Tim's a very dedicated, he's dependable, very even-tempered, and there's an adage about old police officers and new police officers, and with new police officers, you have to worry when they're working and not worry when they're not, because they're trying to get into some type of mischief. And with old police officers, you don't worry when they're working, but you worry when you don't hear them on the radio. And I've never had to have that issue with Tim. So I really do appreciate the effort he puts toward the department, and nice working with you.
Back there for supporting us every day. Thank you very much. I have one more. Chris Clark, you got to come up here too. Okay. Chris Clark is our village administrator. He's been with the Village of Cary 5 years. In those 5 years, he's had to deal with 3 different boards. That's remarkable. And not always does everything go the way you'd like it to go, but he always has a steady head. He's got a sharp pencil when it comes to budget, very appropriate to what we were talking to tonight. Comes up with so many great ideas for the village. He's got 7 bosses, so to speak, so kind of orchestrating all the different things throughout the day and through the week, so keeping everybody together and kind of channeling us down to corral to get things done. We greatly appreciate that. So on behalf of the Village of Cary,
Thanks, Mayor.
you can bye-bye. Motion to adjourn. Go Cubs.
Mayor, in your report, do you have any place for publicizing the Oktoberfest this Saturday?
I can.
That'd be great.
St. Peter Paul, through our grant program, was granted money to put on their very first Oktoberfest. It's this Saturday. What time's it at? I
Oh,
think it's
that's
like,
great.
we'll say 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
I think it's
At
more like
St. Peter and
6.
Paul.
I think it's
All are
afternoons.
welcome. It's an Oktoberfest, real German food, German beer, wine. So
Entertainment.
it'll be a good time.
And it's indoors.
And it's inside, so there you go. Thank you. Hope I didn't scare anybody with my story.
We're glad you
Scare wasn't
clarified.
the
We're
word,
just glad you
Mary.
clarified.
Well, I thought, you have to have a catcher. You're an attention grabber, right?
Sure was.
It would have been more fun. Hey, I live it. I live it. I know these guys, I even get pulled over. As a mayor, I get pulled over by a cop. So you know what? We are not immune from these things that we need our loyal police department for. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items number 1 through 5.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chapman.
Yes.
McAlpine.
Yes.
Kozler.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Cavelli. Yes. Dudek.
Yes.
Okay. Moving to items for separate action, I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance 016-10-06, granting a variance for 5 additional wall signs for Burger King for the property located at 62 Northwest Highway.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Hi, Brian.
Mayor, Village Board, this evening, the request is, as the board recalls, 2 weeks ago at the Committee of the Whole, reviewed the request for Burger King to add 5 additional wall signs to their existing facility at 62 Northwest Highway. Brief summary, they're seeking to install additional logo sign on the western side of the building that would be about 21 square feet, and then 4 graphic panels would be installed on the building as well, 3 that would face Janda's Cutoff, and 1 that would face on.
Brian, I hate to do it. Can you just hang on a second? Mr. Mayor, a point of order, and I don't want to gum up the works, but we had a motion, we had a second, we need to take a vote, and then the discussion could start, if that's all right? It's when you make a motion and you make a second, then you need to take a vote?
No,
No.
we go to discussion.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
That's right. As previously discussed, that the signs were temporarily installed on the property about a month or so ago. The images here show the proposed conditions on the site. As you can see along Janda's Cutoff, you would have the existing logos, the 3 graphic panel signs, and the western side of the building would add the logo sign in this location on the elevation with the Northwest Highway.
As previously discussed, the various sign
Established in order to grant the variances on the property. And based off the review of the testimony and evidence provided during the hearing on October 4th, the Committee of the Whole recommended approval of the following motion. Approval of variance for 5 additional wall signs for Burger King for the property located at 62 Northwest Highway, subject to the 3. Prior to the vote, the petitioner is asked to be able to provide additional information on the request, a little bit of overview of the business and then the need for the sign. So I'll ask the petitioner to come forward and provide that information.
Hello.
Hello.
We just wanted to provide a little bit more information from the last meeting, basically about who Tom's King is. We are the #1 operator in North America, pretty prestigious title. We're the 8th largest franchisee. We have over 100 restaurants and we're growing. 3,500 employees, 600 plus of them are here locally. And we're contributing revenues of $15 million in the Lake McHenry counties. Our corporate headquarters have been located in Crystal Lake for 30 plus years, so we are a local company. in addition to Cary, we are opening a new restaurant in Huntley on Monday, and soon to be followed by Carpentersville, and that's creating about 100 new jobs in the area. We have a lot of community involvement in all the communities where we're located. We're members of the chambers. We do benefit nights for local charities. We have a scholarship program, and $75,000 in 2016 was allocated not only to our employees, but also to the local high schools, Cary Grove, Prairie Ridge. We have a very healthy scholarship program, and we are looking at doing $100,000 in 2017 at this point right now. We do the local sports sponsorships, and we do community hero recognition. That's our fire, our police, and our teachers. As far as the image transformation program that's going on right now with Burger King Corporation, we've invested over $15 million in remodeling and re-imaging restaurants since 2012. The Burger King system is nearing, I believe, 60% right now on their ITP, image transformation program. As we've stated before, we were chosen by Burger King Corporation to build the prototype in Cary. It's the only drive-through only modular build in the country, and that's pretty prestigious too. We're pretty proud of that. As I said, we're building 2 new prototypes in Huntley and Carpentersville, one to be open on Monday. And recently, the Burger King Franchise System Image Committee, made up of franchisees and executives of Burger King, toured Cary. They came in and held their quarterly meeting at our office and came out and looked at the building. And
Cool.
yeah, it was actually pretty good. Now on to our requests. We're requesting that we can add 4 modest-sized image panels. They don't look that modest in this room, but they actually are. They basically convey a message of quality and freshness, and it's part of the brand transformation. The drive-through photos are viewed primarily by the customers in between the first pay window and the second pay window. It's not a real marketing item. It is because they've already gone through and placed their order. It is part of the design. The photo on the front of the building is intended to replace the marketing materials, the window plings that are currently in the front window. Our second request, and I might add that none of those are illuminated, as you can see. They are not cheap. They are not flexible. They're not going to peel. They are not going to crack. They are not going to deteriorate. The button logo sign at the northwest exposure, we have the same on the other towers on 14 and Jandis Cutoff. This one will face the north, and it provides identification for southbound traffic. And I have some photos of how that looks without any identification on it. This is Jandis Cutoff, how it looks without the graphics on the building. It's pretty bland. It's not very colorful. It's just some metal panels on the wall, and it's not part of the design that was originally thought of by Burger King Corporation. And this is a shot of Jandis Cutoff elevation with the proposed graphics. I think it brightens up the building, it breaks up the monotony of the building, and it's part of the cohesive design plan. Here's a storefront comparison. I was actually sitting at the light at First Street and 14 and glanced left, and that's the picture on the left here. They're handwritten green neon signs. I didn't think them to be very attractive compared to our storefront. I think our storefront is clean lines of design, very tidy looking, and there would only be the one panel on the end as far as the graphics. Wendy's, they have a lot going on their site, and they have additional signage on the facades that are not facing the street. The first side is the drive-through side that has the kind of mantra there, their manifesto in the letters. And then on the opposite side of the building, they do have window clings in the windows. They have the Wendy's on the stone side of the building, and then on the standing seam metal, they have another Wendy's logo, and I believe all of those are illuminated. And then this is the southbound view. It's kind of a, well, it's not that dark there, it's dark here. But you can see that Archon towards the front of the building looks pretty naked. As you're coming around that curve, there is no identity that that's a Burger King. There's nothing in that shot that is telling you that you are coming up to a Burger King. Any questions for me?
Did you have the pic, in our packet, it shows the picture with the Burger King on that panel, that dark panel. Did you have that on there? No? Everybody can see that?
Maybe in the beginning, was it?
On this shot here,
Yeah.
that's a menu board.
Well, I'm talking about the dark panel that you want to put the Burger King
Yes,
button.
the Archon.
Yeah, we have that on our packet, just so you're aware that we know what that looks like.
Okay.
Oh.
I guess I just have a question. When we voted on, bringing this project into Cary, why weren't the signs, all these signs introduced then?
Sure. Brian, can you comment? It's relevant to Pet Court case as well, right? Remember, we just had.
Sure. The signs were all proposed on the facade that went through the zoning process. So the sign package illustrated what the signs were. They did not submit an application to go through the review process because the signs and zoning cases have different paths through our development review process, where the signs are reviewed by the committee of the whole and then the village board, versus development approvals go through the zoning board and then the village board. So during this, the staff report that was presented for the case when it was going through the zoning process, staff indicated that the signage didn't comply with code at that point, but if they were to pursue the signage, it would require additional relief through the variation process. So that's why there's two different paths at this point.
I have a couple quick questions, just real quickly. Just out of curiosity, are the new ones in Huntley and Carpentersville going to be the same type of prototype?
No, they are not.
Okay, so they're a full service, you can go into them and stuff?
They're 42-seat restaurants, both of them, because of the size of the lot.
Sure.
They're going to have a lot of the similar features,
Okay.
so they will have graphics on the wall.
No, and I was just more curious because of us being kind of like the first of this prototype. I was kind of curious if you were expanding upon that or waiting to see how the
It's-
success of this goes.
It is another prototype. It's a modular prototype, both
Okay.
of them. So in that manner, they are similar, but they will be both double drive-throughs and dine-in restaurants.
And then my next question is, obviously that's, obviously they look really nice right now. Do you know what the lifespan is of them? And is your plan that if they started looking drabby to replace them? I would hate to get something up there that all of a sudden started getting torn and tattered. I don't know what the lifespan on something like that is. I'm just curious if you know.
I have that graphic material on remodels that I did in 2012, and they look as good
Okay.
as the day they were put up. They have a long lifespan, and as imaging changes with Burger King, those images would change as well. I don't think we would ever have a king or anything on there. It would be something very play on words tasteful.
Well, based upon the fact that, we supported you coming into our village, I am going to support this because I want to do whatever I can to make this successful for you. And I think that you've taken the time to show us that you've used thoughtful consideration and are trying to make it blend in and yet make sure that the branding is there for you. I think one of the things that makes it look busy, and I'm sure at some point it's going to come down, but when you drive down, you've got all the open signs up, flags too. At some point, those will come down, and I think it will look less busy over there.
Those will come down, and I myself reviewed the original picture that we used for the presentation. All the high line towers are in there and all the telephone poles. So, yeah, you do get, when you look at that on the whole visual, yeah, but those flags will come down once the honeymoon is over.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
Your folks are doing really well there, I have to tell you. I mean, very absolutely polite. I mean, I see you're employing a lot of different faces, which is good for us, but I just wanted to say thanks, and I had Burger King tonight.
Oh, that's fantastic, and thank you. We really appreciate hearing things like that.
Roll call, please.
Kraus,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes?
Dudek,
No.
Cavelli,
No.
Cosler,
No.
Koenig,
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution R16-01-05, a public comment policy.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the Village Board. This is before you this evening. You see the correspondence from Attorney Tappendorf, also from Attorney Simon. I view this as a housekeeping matter. It does not absolutely need to be passed tonight with respect to future business. However, I would suggest that any comments be provided to me tonight if you have any questions or concerns. I brought this forward. I felt that it would be most helpful from the standpoint of continuing to encourage public comment, to have clear guidelines that are set in advance and of no confusion, whether it be a small item, a big item, whatever the venue. It's going to be helpful for you as a board for decision-making, as well as to the public in some fashion, to have a set of rules that they can pick up on the way in so that there isn't any confusion about how we operate. Again, as I mentioned, I don't absolutely need it passed tonight, but I wanted your feedback. If there's edits, we can make them on the floor or we can bring them back. But I think including, at least in concept, to have the board understand in advance of November 1st, if you choose not to pass it tonight. Obviously, we have a large business item on November 1st. I think it's just important that from the standpoint of conducting the meetings, there needs to be one person that's chairing and, at least some understanding about however many minutes and then people coming back up, et cetera. There's certain guidelines that we just got to stay to so that it doesn't add to confusion on anybody's part. I think that all the trustees that I've worked for over the 5 years I've been here, everyone wants to hear from the public, and that's what we're here for. I think it's not about not wanting to hear from the public, it's just about making it as orderly as possible. So that's why these rules are in front of you, and Adam and I will be happy to answer any questions.
I had one on rule number 6.
Yeah.
So I guess I would just like clarification on that. So I'll just use Meyer as an example.
Yeah.
We've had some people that have came to address the board and have, made similar comments each time. So is that the case, or is it every meeting?
I would say that on item 6, it says may deny. So if we have someone that repeatedly comes back up to say the same thing or repeats something else that's been said, if we're 3 hours into the meeting, the chair might want to make sure that we're hearing new comments and things like that. If I'm answering your question you're asking, it's not designed to be arbitrary. It's designed to set the tone. There's going to be time to time where the chair is going to say, well, that's fine. Okay. I mean, if it happens once, it's fine. But if we have somebody that's abusing the system, that's what it's designed to address. And then by prior notice, hopefully it just avoids it. Go ahead, Adam.
I think it's designed to be applied on a per meeting basis. So if someone was here tonight to talk about something, it wouldn't apply to new comments made at the subsequent meeting. It is something that's designed to encourage the efficient operation of each meeting.
And so I guess, can we maybe just clarify that? Because
Sure.
with the word may, like you said, it could be arbitrarily applied.
Well, I think from somebody that has to try to control people, I mean, I watched the videos of the last meetings at the Holiday Inn, for instance, and that's when you have, people bombarding you from all areas and trying to keep control. And, from the one side of the room, I've got somebody that's, I have somebody speaking at the podium. I've got somebody that's, shouting out responses there and just trying to keep some semblance of order and some credibility to the proceedings. As you know, I always give people as much opportunity as possible, but sometimes when it becomes more of an abusive type behavior, that's when it would be better off if we're all in agreement that, okay, we know where you're coming from, we understand, you've made your comments known, we're going to move on to the next person. And it just gives more credibility and gives it to the person that's having their conversation right now. Do you know what I mean? It's like if somebody's up there speaking at the podium,
No, and I understand that. If we're adopting these rules for years and years and years to come, there's going to be other people that interpret it one way or another.
Sure.
And I just like to hone in on the interpretation.
how would you like how would you like that to be stated?
Just kind of how Adam clarified for me on a per meeting basis.
Adam, can you?
For me,
We can have it read, speak again on the same topic at the same meeting.
yes, I agree.
Done.
Good. Has everybody been in agreement with that?
And I want to point out, to further add on to what the mayor just said, we're not speaking about a specific meeting. I mean, I've looked at this over the context of 5 years, not, 2 meetings back. And when the word abuses, we've rarely had anybody that has challenged our guidelines. And I, though, saw a couple of recent instances where, it's just awkward when somebody speaks to a trustee when you've closed comment and they're speaking to you, and sometimes you're saying something rhetorically, and not asking them a question. And if it does come up where somebody wants to speak and a trustee wants to ask, hey, can we have this person speak? As long as there's some order to it and asking the chair and then making sure we understand what it means to reopen that. Because sometimes if we're not careful, it can allow the petitioner to get back up and have the ability to rebut and take us down a path that is the opposite of what we wanted to hear the resident for. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Robert's rule already speaks to the fact that before someone can speak a second time, everybody who wishes to speak on a subject has to have the ability to speak. The other thing that I want to comment about is this is the first board that I've seen here in the village where the village president allows members of the audience to talk outside of the open comment section at the beginning of the meeting. And I'm all for transparency. But I just wanted that to know, as far as Kim's question, it's a policy. It can be amended and changed. It doesn't have to be set in stone today, but it is a good place for us to get started from.
I'd like to make a comment because I'm going to be one of the people that said, hey, I need to understand how a meeting should really run, especially if we're going to have a meeting that may have some acrimony on it, may have some residents that have some concerns and emotions may run high. And I felt like in order for a meeting to be facilitated properly, we really need to have some structure to it. So I did mention it to Chris, and I said that I wasn't sure necessarily how to handle things properly when it came to a meeting being closed, because I don't ever want to come across that we don't want residents' input, because of course we do. But I was trying to say that whoever's facilitating, to kind of piggyback on what Kim was saying, if we set something in stone, we want to make sure, and again, it can be amended, Dave, but if we're setting something up, we want to make sure that it's as transparent as possible for any resident that wants to come in and seek relief or give their comments on anything that's going on with our board. But we want to keep, to me, to have someone facilitate it, if we're not all as a board in agreement with how it should be run, how do we have someone facilitate a meeting properly? So I definitely thought that we need to come up with something so that everyone was on the same page of how to address things and how the process should go. If that makes sense to anyone.
I have something to say, and I'm going to bring it back before all these comments. I want to take it back to Attorney Simon. What is this really required by law?
The Open Meetings Act was amended a handful of years ago to require that all public bodies provide an opportunity for the residents to address the elected officials. That's all it says. The Attorney General's office has interpreted that to say all public bodies need to adopt rules to govern the manner in which residents should address the elected officials. And so,
Should adopt.
yes. So the Attorney General has issued a strong recommendation that all public bodies adopt these types of rules.
I look at and maybe you can direct me because I'm not an attorney, and the lawyer speak and all this, but it says in the OMA, any person shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the public body. So what are the rules? Like if we make rules tonight, that these are the rules, when you speak, these are the rules, aren't those the rules?
These would be the rules.
But, no, that's not my question. Like, can we make rules for each night? And those are the rules, and why do we have to come up with such a formal plan? I guess that's my question.
So to adopt new sets of rules every night, in my opinion, opens you up to
And I'm not saying
criticism that you
they're
could get.
always radically different, but
To the extent they are interpreted to be different from one night to another, you could be opening yourself up to criticism that you're designing the rules in a way that tailors different types of comment, depending on the subject matter of the meeting. Furthermore, if we have one person in the audience, and there's only one person who wants to make public comment, the board has the power to vote to waive the rules. Because we don't need to have a formal rule applied to one person who wants to talk on their pet issue. These rules, like Robert's Rules of Order, are designed to control meetings that require more formality and more structure. And so these are your fallback position that are adopted. You communicate them to the public so their expectations are clear and your expectations are clear. And if there's one person here who has an issue and no one else is around and you have time to entertain them, you can waive the rules on a case-by-case basis, on a meeting-by-meeting basis, I should say.
so if we adopted rules as a board, do they necessarily have to be passed as a resolution? Or what I'm saying is, couldn't we put that into like a policy manual for the Village of Cary?
Yeah, it is a policy.
I mean, what I'm getting at here is why do we have to make it so formal?
I would comment from a non-legal perspective. I would appreciate some level of unanimity in some fashion. So, I mean, I don't want a 4-3 vote on whatever the policy is. You know what I'm saying? So that if and when it is needed, we're not in a situation where we have some division about the basic guidelines. I mean, I understand and would be open completely to some, customization of this. Case in point, the Burger King issue, if there's two people here and the board, someone wants to say, well, we'd like to let them have 5 minutes apiece because we have the time. I think that makes complete sense. But it's this back and forth kind of thing that's concerning to me. And when it's closed unless somebody opens it back up so that we don't have people coming from the audience directing how you're having the dialogue. That's my concern. And I just watched that, of late.
Couldn't that have been shut down, though?
Yeah.
It can, but if we, Attorney Tappendorf had asked me at the end of that last meeting if we had a policy in place, and I had said no. And she had said some of the municipalities that they have, that it's just something that they have that they can control it a little bit better.
By putting the open forum on the agenda written, that satisfied the Attorney General's requirement that the public be notified of it, as opposed to if we didn't have it on there, residents would not know that they have the chance to speak. And that was a reason that they said that you shall establish some mechanism to allow your residents to speak.
Any other comments?
I don't know. I would like some more time with this.
That's
I
fine.
move to table it to the next meeting.
Second.
Can we table it by request to November 15th?
That's fine. I'm agreeable with that.
Okay.
Do you have to call roll call on that?
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Hang on 1 second. Okay, so we're just voting on the
Tabling.
Tabling it.
Okay,
Till November 15th.
right. McAlpine?
Yes.
Dudek?
Well, I'm going to comment too.
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Cosler?
Yes.
Cavelli?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kraus?
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you. Just make sure you get with Chris with some of your concerns so that we could, if this goes up or down, whatever, just so we're not spending a lot of time on it.
I would just ask Attorney Simon if he would feel it'd be appropriate to comment as it would relate to administration of the November 1 meeting. I'm assuming your advice would be, as you would provide advice to the mayor as chair of the meeting, to just make sure that guidelines provided to the public that may wish to comment at that meeting are appropriate for the rules that we don't have.
I think there's a practice at the beginning of each public comment period where the mayor reminds people that we would prefer they limit their comments to 3 minutes.
Okay.
We ask them that they don't be repetitive or redundant. We ask them to respect each other and don't speak over each other. And that when the public comment period is closed, it is closed unless an alderman asks the chair to recognize a member of the public again. That's how we can maintain order. But we can remind them of that at the beginning of the public comment period.
So I'm just rehearsing so that we're all on the same page, and if
Right.
we're not, please shake your head no. Then essentially, if we have a situation on November 1 where the guidelines or how it's being administered, there's some question, then the mayor will consult with the village attorney for how to reopen or at least understand what it means if we let somebody come back up. Because I want to make sure that we don't have a petitioner coming back up without, the board understanding, what it should be. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm concerned about having, an unintended consequence where someone pops back up and it gets complicated. So the mayor will consult with the attorney if we have any anomalies at that meeting. And then we'll revisit this later and have rules or not thereafter. And I appreciate the feedback. That's all I had. Thanks.
Sorry, there was a request for clarification. These rules apply to meetings. There's a different set of rules that apply to public hearings where you're taking testimony and it's on the record. So these rules only apply to meetings, not hearings.
Too bad.
And that's that whole new thing that we adapted for the public hearings that we've been following from the last public hearings that we've had here too. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on. Got a little W in my head.
Where's the chief?
Did I say that out loud? Administrator's report?
Quickly, couple items. We've had some significant structural issues with what we classify as the trophy room or the great room. The roof has for many years had significant issues. And we, of late, I'd say within the last 6 months, our village engineer, who's also heavily trained in structural, has been concerned with some settlement in some of the beams. And so we've roped that room off for the last 6 months and completed some assessment from an independent structural engineer standpoint. And it is necessary to do some significant bracing work to the room. And we're going to do it starting tomorrow, and it needs to be done now. It'll be done in the most cost-effective way. It's emergency work. It's being braced. We're not, from the standpoint of permanency, making cosmetic improvements or anything to permanently fix it. It's a Band-Aid approach. And, we're assessing options as it would relate to your March budget process for it. It is a significant issue, and to the extent that we don't want anybody in that room. And so tomorrow's operation will make it more safe, and I'll keep advising you on that. Any questions about that? Thank you. I want to emphasize that trick-or-treat hours are Monday, October 31st from 3 to 8 p.m. That's come up. Want to put that on the record for the public. I also want to point out that the Village of Cary 9 months ago, with the help of a variety of public works directors chaired by partly Director Eric Morimoto, has been running a shared services committee for joint bidding in the county. There's been about 5 or 6 projects that have been coming back to bids that have been awarded by a variety of city councils and village boards throughout McHenry County, including a recent crack ceiling bid that was pretty impressive from the standpoint of 4 cities bid together, and quite frankly, in comparing bids to independently bid County of McHenry, as well as the city of Crystal Lake, who bid independent of the joint bid, our numbers beat them both. So we're seeing some progress from that and some additional interest from suburbs. There was the second meeting held Monday that I attended that's being chaired by the county administrator, Peter Austin from McHenry County now. There's a lot of interest at the county level in what we're doing, and the issue is growing. And we now have at least one other working group that just was started this week with police departments, and Chief Finland will be a co-chair of the county committee. Sounds like with Chief Bucci from the village of Algonquin for shared services opportunities for McHenry County Police Departments. And it's likely heading to community development next. That group is still forming and we're still doing some survey work, but I think it's pretty impressive that Director Morimoto and Chief Finland will be taking a lead role, and I appreciate his service on that. Lastly, I think it's important to point out, somewhat in the heat of other issues last week with Meyer and obviously the SAGE project, we received a call from representatives of Pearl Development on Thursday and wanting to come in quickly to talk about the project that they did not receive tax credits for in the last funding round. They did come yesterday from Cleveland and met with myself and the mayor just to give a status update on their project and the fact that they are now working towards a February funding call for the tax credits for the senior building project. And so they have received a one-year extension on their, I guess, their agreement with the landowner to allow them up to 2 funding calls to reapply for tax credits. So I just wanted to report that back to you. I don't see anything of meaning really happening prior to April when they might receive an answer for the February call. But that's the status of that project. Do you have any questions? That's all I had. Thank you.
Any department reports? Any future agenda items and discussion by village board?
I do.
Pardon me?
Oh,
We did that.
Rick is something.
I have a couple of things.
You do? Go ahead.
Just for the record, I won't be here on the 15th of November, nor will I be able to call in. And I just want to say that I support whatever the majority of the board might come together with as far as public comment policy. So I just want to go on record for that. The second thing is due to the fact that I can't remember the name of the company, the billboard guys, but their attorney is a client of mine. I had to recuse myself from discussion and the vote when they came before the board for the repair, if you will, or redo of their billboards. And I've meant to ask this a number of weeks ago, so I apologize that I just haven't gotten around to it. But I am curious, was the decision of the board that night to allow them to keep the existing pylons in place and just put in brick veneer surround? Because that's what they have. And I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but that's what you have.
I'm glad to follow up and check on all of it for you and get your response.
Because that was not, prior to their attorney coming that evening, that was not the plan that was presented to this board.
So you're commenting about the steel that holds up the sign?
The sign that's on your property, did they touch the pylons?
You gotta come to the mic.
Did they touch the black pylons, the wood pylons?
Dave, could you come up to the microphone, please?
You're on.
Yeah, it's a very unique parcel. It's sitting about 30 feet below the road. They're huge poles to hold those things up. But I know they covered them, so it looks like a monument in the bottom, but I don't know how they're going to do anything on the sides to make it look, I think it look more up-to-date with something on the sides of them. You know, make it look on the bottom, make it look like it's sitting on a platform. But I don't know how they'd ever do. They did on the one on the railroad side.
Pretty much the same as they did yours. They just built around it.
Right.
With brick veneer sheets.
Right.
And my recollection is the conversations that we had when they presented things to us here was that they were going to build brick pylons. So I don't know what our procedure is for following up on the way we approve things, and I wasn't part of the approval that evening.
Yeah, I don't know.
But to me, I think it looks as crappy today as it did before they did it. and I'm just going on record as saying, I'd like to know what was approved that evening, because I wasn't part of the conversation, and does this board even realize what was approved and what was done by that business owner? Because they may not be the same thing.
No, I don't know if done is done. I've watched
It looks
that
done to
job.
me.
I'm explaining that I have seen that go on for a while, and it's taken a little while to get finished. And
I think he's
mean,
got more
I-
plans. He said something about he's got more pieces coming, but they're held up by the hurricane. So I don't know what they're going to do. I know you got more going on to it, but
We're glad to look into it and respond back.
Okay, thank you.
I know he's trying.
Did you have something else, Rick? No? That
No,
was
the
it?
other thing is I would just want to go on record saying I support the public.
Okay, that's- I-
policy,
you
that's all.
remember you
Whatever
said
you
a
guys
couple
decide to
things.
do is okay with me.
Okay, Dave, you had something?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the village for sending us again this to the IML, the Illinois Municipal League. The training, I went 3 days, some great classes down there, a good chance to meet and network with other representatives and elected officials throughout the state. Today I attended by a teleconference the Metropolitan Caucus of Mayors Environmental Committee meeting where we talked about several programs from Commonwealth Edison and NICOR, which I forwarded on some of the links to Administrator Clark and Director Simmons regarding the grant program that's available that's been since 2007, I could see of millions of dollars that have been granted to organizations and villages in our county for energy efficiency. One of them that was very, very exciting is that if the village in any type of a planned development has any of the units that are designated as affordable housing, then the Illinois Department of Commerce and Chris, I can never remember, it's DCOE. Anyway, they will, with the contractor and not with the village, they will get with the contractor that's building those homes and help to make those homes energy efficient. And it doesn't change the price. So that's something that for the future. The other one is this coming Wednesday, the McHenry County Council of Governments dinner is being held at the Crystal Lake Country Club. Our Congressman Peter Roskam is going to be there, and Joe Gottemoller is hosting. And there's some great topics on there as well. So if you have a chance to get out to Crystal Lake. And then the final one is I'll be attending next week the McHenry County Gravel Commission meeting. So, and I'll have a report back after that.
Anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.